right. Well, fair and balanced. The New York Democratic Congressman Charlie Rangel, who you might find surprising, yet doesn't agree with a thing I just said outside of the bracket thing, I guess, is okay, Congressman, right?
Yeah, listen, I'm only here for fair and equal. I mean, you know, forget the brackets. I'm here for the budget.
All right. So he's late. It's routine policy in Washington for things to be late. I guess we get kind of used to this, but should we?
Well, let me make it clear that once a budget is passed, it has no meaning at all in the law. And so that there's no compulsion for anyone to do anything if, and I hope soon, there is agreement to the budget. A budget is really a statement of policy of the parties. And hopefully in the future we will not find the policies so different. And that's
wait a minute,
what
are you
makes
saying
this
that
difficult.
when you make a budget, you shouldn't stick to it? It's a joke? You shouldn't even bother?
That's what you said, Neil. What I said, it has no credibility in the law. That's what I said.
All right, but
you said it's a joke.
No, if you said it has no credibility in the law, that leads me to think that it's just a game of semantics.
It's not a game for people to talk about what their party principles are. Is that a game? That's what the election
So what if
is
you're
all about.
late? What if you're late getting those principles out, Congressman?
Well, as long as the principles are there for the American people to find out, do you really think, Neil, that anybody is going to sleep at night in this great country wondering when we got to get the budget out? Of course not. What they're concerned with is how they got to get a job. Will there be Social Security and Medicare for them? And will we be able to provide for the poor? And that's what they're talking about.
But part of getting that assurance, Congressman, and part of getting that sense that Washington is going to help me in that regard is honoring some of the things it has to do to keep this country going. Part of it is providing a budget. Part of them is providing a plan. Part of it is providing a blueprint that either side might agree or disagree with. Part of it is doing its job to provide jobs. And that if you make a mockery of the process, maybe for very valid reasons, Congressman, you're not giving Americans much hope back home.
Let me make it clear. Just because it has no bearing in the law, it doesn't mean that it's a mockery and it's a joke. That's coming from the other side of this
But it
camera.
has been a joke, Congressman, and I criticize both parties here. Late with budgets, late with getting stuff done, always making a big deal out of relatively small cuts, always making a theater production over what are really slices off the growth and spending, always scaring the bejesus out of the American people. I don't even care if you're late on a budget. Just don't harangue and act like it's the end of the world when you haven't even presented one.
All I'm telling you, and I don't think there's any challenge, that this budget was debated in the presidential election. It was abundantly clear that what Ryan has put up in terms of what he calls a budget, which what he and Mr. Romney ran on, the so-called budget was the Republican platform. The president has won. And now they bring this back to the table as though there was no election.
So do you think that the budget submitted by Senator Patty Murray, which doesn't call for anything approaching balance in the next 10 years, and increases spending and increases taxes, is what the American people voted for back in November? Is that what they voted for?
Do you know that there's no one that challenges that America's on the road to recovery? And if you think for 1 minute just saying that you're cutting spending, that doesn't mean that you're cutting savings. It doesn't mean that you
we're
don't
not
have
cutting
to spend
spending,
more
though,
money.
right? Even under the Rhino, we're not cutting anything. We're cutting the growth of programs. We're not cutting anything. But are you saying to me that cutting spending is not important? Congressman, answer yes or no. Do you think cutting spending should be a goal? Yes or no?
Should I think cutting spending? Yes, is how you cut it, of course.
What would you cut?
Everybody
What would you cut? What would you cut?
There is so much money that has already been cut. If we had the Obama law, there's things that have been cut there. Ryan knows it. Why? Because he took out the savings that we had in the president's bill. And even though he's against the bill, somehow he found it that the cuts
But you're
the
saying that what Senator Murray is planning, what she wants to do, is fine with you, even though it effectively calls for more spending, more taxing, and doesn't address these issues.
I don't know where you get the more taxes from. First, let me make it clear.
$1 trillion closing loopholes in over 10 years.
There's two houses here.
I understand that.
And the fact
the only
is that
Democratic budget I can see is hers. So that's what I'm going
Well,
on.
that's all you can see. I'm on the House side of the
I
Congress.
understand that, but I'm
so
sorry, because the
need
president's late. This is all I got to go on. So this
I know, but
budget,
it's
do you
not
like
all-
it or not?
Listen, you can go on the Egyptian budget, but it's not before the House of Representatives,
Okay.
and I'm here with the House
Understood.
of Representatives. What I am saying this, that raising revenue is not a contradiction of cutting spending. That's all I'm saying. And any party, any household, any company that says that it wants to reduce the deficit by meaning don't raise revenue, obviously are not serious about cutting the deficit. Yes, you need
Even though
cuts.
we've already raised revenue, right by the bottom line, right?
Raising revenue by closing, we should be willing to close tax loopholes if we didn't have a deficit, if we didn't have debt.
That's what last
It's the
time.
right
We already
thing
raised
to
taxes.
do.
We already raised taxes. You just want to raise them some
I
more.
didn't say raise taxes. I said
Raise
close
revenue.
loopholes.
Okay.
Republicans
All
call
right.
closing loopholes raising taxes because it's the rich to have
Right.
these unfair preferences.
Okay.
So to
have you
close
filled out,
them
Congressman, real quick,
is
have you
the
filled
right
out
thing to
your
do.
brackets? Yes or no? Have you filled out your brackets?
No, I haven't done that. I'm going to leave that to the president.
All right.
He may be late on that, too.
I'm sorry. All right, Congressman, thank you.